Yo, what's cracking, guys? So today I got a little bit of a podcast episode. I'm here with my boy Christian. This is Christian Lee.
Nice to meet you. I'm Christian.
You've already been in a video.
Yeah, we've been in this Spachinglish video, Spanglish video.
So he's a band leader of the CIA, Dogs Are People Too, Bob Smith, and the Abrupters. You play bass in the Abrupters,
Yes.
Correct? This man's in 4 bands, all right?
And Prairie Pavement.
And Prairie Pavement, 5 bands, correct me. So yeah, we got a busy guy over here.
Excited to enjoy this beautiful day and talk about busyness and being too busy.
Exactly, that's the topic of this video, is being a little too busy sometimes. So we're out here on this beautiful college campus on this beautiful day. And today is a day where we both found some time to just relax and not really do too much. Isn't that right?
That's exactly right. And the weather's been so nice in Buffalo recently. I want to enjoy these last few days before, the winter season comes and you're being inside for that long. So it's important to make this kind of time.
Definitely, man. Definitely. It gets depressing in the winter around here. That's for sure. But so there's one thing that's been on our minds a lot recently, and it's overproductivity, hyperproductivity. The cultural phenomenon that's happening right now, where it feels like the entire world is pushing you into exhaustion, which is totally against your will, where it almost feels as if the pain of overworking is glorified in of itself. It has nothing to do with the success you achieve at the end or the results that you earn through hard work. No, it's like the pain itself is what's glorified, the suffering, the lack of rest, the mental fatigue. And so we've both experienced this to some level. And so we want to have a little discussion about it and share the idea with everyone on YouTube. So Kristen, you want to start? What are some of your experiences with hyperproductivity?
So we got this whole idea for recording this when I called Julian, and we were just chatting after having not seen each other a lot in a while. And I was telling him I'd been feeling so exhausted, but also unable to rest. I was having a really hard time just taking the time to put aside a few hours, or even at night, just deciding to go to bed early instead of just grinding and working out stuff. And we both found that we had a really, really similar experience where it was just like the maintenance of the status quo, where we just kept working and working and working, just because that is what is glorified. That's just what we felt like we had to do. That almost taking time to rest would be a waste of time. And I know I felt that way really, really strongly for a long time. And it just led me to keep pushing myself and keep doing a lot of different things, which was good, because ultimately I got a lot done. But at the same time, after a long period of time, you're just going to feel burnt out, and you might actually lose the passion for what you were doing in the first place. And it kind of kills the enjoyment of things that you were doing initially at first that were productive and fun. And they just slowly start becoming like a chore because you're forcing yourself to work on it endlessly over and over again.
Yeah, you could literally convert a passion into a problem.
Exactly. Like you make it like a hobby into a full-time job, just based on, it comes from a good place of wanting to improve, but also it's realizing that part of the process is also taking time to rest and recharge.
So what are some specific things that you had to work on that you felt that way about, where at first it was very passionate, and then after a while it slowly turned into a chore, till eventually it was something just dreadful?
I don't know if I ever let things get to the dreadful point, but I think with a lot of the music stuff, like just releasing the Dogs Are People 2 album, working on that, it was a lot of fun recording all the songs, but towards the end, it was just so much time and effort has been put into this, and just the final the first 95% went by so fast. The last 5% of tweaking it just takes so much enormous effort to get it to where I want it to be. And that started feeling like a job, and I felt like I just had to do it constantly, be working on it. And a lot of times it does feel like that with a lot of the music stuff, because I just want to push it out and get it done as soon as possible. But it's kind of enjoying that there will be times where you have to wait. And even releasing the album, we had to wait for the music to get approved to get on Spotify and all the different streaming services. And so it was kind of just an exercise in waiting and being okay with it, and knowing that it would eventually be released. It was just going to take some time and to have some patience, which is hard in the moment, because it just led me to when there's nothing to do except wait, I just felt so antsy. So I was I need to be working on something right now, but there literally was nothing to work on. It was done. It was just waiting to be approved.
So what do you think was the main cause for your antsiness during your rest periods?
I think what it was that I hadn't rested in so long, is that my body had almost forgotten what it was like to just do nothing for a period of time and be okay with that.
Right. And so why do you think it is that we feel this sort of pressure to not do nothing?
I think what it comes down to, I think a big part of it would be just the culture of comparison we have, that it's always like, oh, but did you see what somebody else is doing? And I think it's hard for a lot of people to just give other people props for just being them. And it may not be the best, but that's what they're doing. And I think it's always really, really easy. Like, you hear it a lot too with like people and their kids. They'll be like, oh, like my kid like got a good grade in a test. But it's like, oh, did you hear my kid's doing like this advanced class or something like that? It's always like the comparison and stuff like that. And I feel like that while we're not at that stage of life yet, we have similar things where we see people online or on social media or even just in our daily lives doing incredible things. But then we don't just give them props for that, but we feel like we have to also achieve and achieve and achieve and achieve, where it's this constant cycle of wanting to achieve more and just build your resume.
Yeah. It almost feels, I mean, for me, a lot of the time it feels like it's a race that I need to win.
Yes.
Because what I've found, my experience with hyper-productivity up until this point is just working my job. Literally just living on my own, working my job. My job pays me pretty decent, but I have to show up like 50 hours a week in order to really pay my bills and still save money. If I don't show up and do overtime, pretty much everything I earn goes right back out in bills or just buying things in general, just things that I need around the house, food, things like that. Or, you know, if I want to go out to a cafe with a friend and meet up, it's like I have to pay such close attention to my finances sometimes. And so the only way I'd save money is if I work like a monster.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is I find myself so burnt out because I have a very mentally exhaustive job. It's a very boring job where I'm just driving all day, and it gets really exhausting being in traffic for 12 hours at a time, 5 days a week. And so then when I get home, I just want to do nothing, absolutely nothing. Like, I just collapse on my bed sometimes. And I started to really realize, like, there's nothing about this that is passion fueled for me. Nothing about this is passion fueled. All I'm doing is chasing money. And I begun treating life like it was a race that needed to be won, that I needed to come in first place. When realistically, man, life is a walk. There's a tortoise in the hare, and we live in a world full of hares.
And do you think part of that too is like you talked about working your job, you can make things work without doing the overtime, but then to save. So do you think part of it too is like planning for the future and how that can be pushed sometimes, and how it's a really important thing, but also I think it's really easy to lose sight of like how heavily you're planning for a future and not enjoying the moment.
That is so true, man. Focus so much on the future that you're forgetting where you are right now.
Because I know, like, I'm in a different stage of life right now where I don't have all those bills to pay, but like working my job and selling the antiques on the side, I had $10 to spend easily. But I remember I went out and I spent $10 and I was like, oh my gosh. It just felt like a hit to my savings.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't productive. I didn't spend those $10 on anything. I spent it purely on, I went to go see a show and I enjoyed it, but there's no other return on investment except that I had fun.
Because it isn't an investment, it's a purchase. But I think that's the thing is at least when you're younger and you don't have as much money, I feel like the world pushes on you that you can't really spend anything on something fun, that you need to always be making investments. You can't purchase anything.
Or that it's a waste of money. And that's why I felt that so strongly. This was like just a few days ago and I was like, oh man, like that was a waste of money. I spent but I had made $10 and more that day. So it wasn't like I was like spending money I didn't have. It was $10.
Yeah.
And it just made me, I was like, it just like hurt me inside giving those $10 away. But I kind of was evaluating, why is it that I feel so strongly? And I think part of it too is like, of like that work culture and like feeling burnt out is like how strong of a connection you get to money. It just really like ingrains itself in you, and it's so rooted in you that it just becomes like your livelihood.
Yeah.
And it just becomes like your daily reason to get up.
Dude, what do you call your work in English? Your livelihood.
No, literally.
Literally. But dude, there's just so much more to life. That's the thing. And it's so easy to lose sight of that. It's really easy to lose sight of that sometimes. And to just get so engrossed in working nonstop that you literally forget to live.
And I think it's all the balance too, because at the same time, it's good to be productive and it's good to work hard. It's just knowing when you hit your limit and that you need to sleep and you need to eat. You need to take time for meals.
Yeah.
Because I think also too, we have such a culture of multitasking, like where it's like, oh, I can take my meal when I'm walking to my next appointment or something like that.
Right.
Where it's like you're never actually sitting down. Like, are you drinking like water? Or are you just like walking and chugging a coffee? and just like eating a small sandwich or something like that from like Starbucks. So I think that's another big thing where it's like taking time to be like, I'm going to set aside 30 minutes or even an hour to eat a meal and just actually sit down and just do nothing for an hour in between my day. Which is I think I'll be doing that more now that school started again. Because in the summer, I would just be like doing something like productive, trying to get stuff done all day. And I wouldn't sit down really. But now it's like the process of the commute to school and back, when I get home, is like my time to just sit down for like 30 minutes, eat something, and just like do nothing for a second and just like look outside or something.
Just let your mind actually wander for a moment rather than the infinite distraction of work. Because I mean, I find myself doing that where literally work is something that distracts me. For the longest time, like, I wasn't even focusing on how I felt about my job, how I felt about my life, the direction I was heading in, because all of my time was spent behind the wheel, driving for my job. And that driving just kept my mind away from what I was actually feeling about my job, which was dissatisfaction, you know? But it's weird too, because it's hard to find that time to just settle down. It's really hard to find that time. But it's important because, dude, time is one thing you just don't get back, man.
Absolutely.
Like, you can lose all your money today, and it can come back within a year. You lose all your time today. You lost all your time today. You still have more time, but it's a very finite resource. And so it's really important to decide how you're going to spend it. And so I think because of that fact, a lot of people see it as, oh, I need to spend as much of my time as possible working on setting myself up for the future, working on doing something that's going to bear good fruits later down the road. And a good portion of your time should be dedicated to that. But if you leave out the rest and you try to use too much of your time for that, then all of a sudden your entire life becomes super stale. You become totally overworked.
I think another part of that too, you can be doing something that you love. Like, you can love your job, you can love what you're doing, like, to the umpteenth degree, where it's your passion. But even your most passionate thing, if you do it nonstop and you grind it out, it will start becoming not fun.
Yeah.
No matter what your job is, if you're just always working and it might be fun for you, it will lose some of that flavor after a while.
And you know, it's crazy too, because I feel like I've heard from so many guys especially who will hear somebody talking like this and they'll like shit on the idea.
Really?
Yeah, dude, because they'll see it like, oh, you're being a sissy. Like, you just need to man up and work harder, you know? Or like, oh, I'm going to crush the competition. Because, you know, men are pretty competitive. So it's weird because I hear those ideas floating around when I'm in the gym, you know, when I'm out at work. Like at work, if I don't want to pick up extra work and keep driving until 1 a.m, the clerks are like, come on. Or they'll be trying to convince me to come in 7 days a week and like abuse the system. Because you're supposed to get 24 hours of rest every week at my job.
Yeah.
And so the clerks will be trying to tell me like, oh, dude, but if you come in at 4 a.m. on your first day off, get off at like 1 o'clock, and then take 24 hours, the next day you can come in at 1 p.m. and stay till midnight. So you can technically work 7 days a week. And I'm like, dude, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to do that.
So you're just burning yourself out. I think another thing too is like you can work to the point where it's also taking a toll on your body. And I think that's one thing I want to focus on more in this upcoming like season of like school and fall, is focusing on physical health and like just eating right, going outside, doing exercise, because I felt it like it like got less and less of a priority like through the past few years, where it's like, oh, I'm just like doing work, whether it be music, stuff related to my job or anything. I'm just doing that all the time, and I won't set aside those times. It's actually so doable though, because it's so easy. Like when I make my schedule, I just like block it off with all these different things I'm doing. But I'm never blocking off like, here's an hour break, because that hour break feels like a waste of time. Or here's an hour to go walk and do exercise.
Yeah, but exercise in of itself can become a chore.
That's true too. I know you had an experience like that.
Dude, recently, like I just started going back to the gym after not having gone for a few months now because of my job. I'm just working so much, dude. And it's weird because it's mental fatigue, but the mental fatigue translates to my body.
Absolutely.
Where after I get out of work, like, dude, I just want to go to sleep. Like, I just feel there's no way I can go to the gym. There's just no way, dude. It's the last it takes so much time out of my day. That's the other thing. Because so it feels like when you're working so much, it feels like so much of your time is also devoted to these tiny tasks. Like today, I was supposed to go grocery shopping and I have to do my laundry. and there's dishes in the sink, the house to be cleaned, like all of these tiny little minute tasks, which are really just adulting. It's just living life. But it's really hard to find like an hour and a half block to go drive to the gym, exhaust myself, and drive back.
Yeah, that's so real.
And I'm already exhausted.
Part of it too is that, like, when you're doing any task like work or school, and you come back after a long day, and I know, like, I felt this a lot. I would be like, okay, I'm gonna come back from school, or I'm gonna finish doing this, like, almost an unreasonable hour, like 10 o'clock at night, and then at 10 o'clock at night, I'm gonna do all this stuff for the next day, get everything ready, do all this, whether it be like clean up a bunch of stuff, go clean my car,
You're like
just get clothes ready, or just cook some food for the next day. It's not anything like that. But then you come home after that long day, and what you really need is rest. But you've already put all these tasks on yourself to do, where then you feel guilty about resting. And I would be like, I'm so tired. But I already told myself, like, I planned it out with my schedule, where like I have to do this stuff now, and I just exhaust myself even more.
Yeah. I feel like it's good to have a schedule, but at the same time, I feel like you need to be a little relaxed with yourself. At least that's a solution for me. Like today on my schedule was 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. was the gym, right? Dude, I woke up at like 8:30 on my couch.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, I made my coffee, I sat down, and I was like, dude, I want to make this album.
Yeah, and
I want to make an
passion takes
album
over,
of music. And so I started listening to my songs, and I was like, well, I'm meeting Christian at, UB at 12 o'clock. Okay, well, I'm probably not going to go spend an hour at the gym. I'm too busy focused on what I'm doing right now. And I feel like you got to have that flexibility to really tell yourself sometimes, like, yo, my priorities are just different from what's on the schedule sometimes.
And that's an important skill to pivot like that.
This task that I planned on doing, this Tuesday or whatever, it's just not important enough. There's something else that takes precedence, whether it be rest or something else that you're obligated to do. And so you have to be able to take that task and just kind of put it to the wayside for a while.
And that's almost like, it sounds very simple to do, but it's like, in the situation, it's so hard sometimes. But honestly, I feel like it's even more human to do that. Like, if you just follow your instinct for a second and actually do what you're feeling like actually doing, it usually also comes out better than if you were to do something that, just because it's on your schedule, you're to do that, you're not gonna care about it. You think about it, your mind's gonna be in other places. Versus if you just do what you're actually passionate about and you feel the desire to in that moment, it will usually come out better.
It does, because it's what you actually want to do. It makes sense. Like, if I were to go to the gym this morning instead of working on my music, how would I have felt? I would have wished I had done the other thing. While I'm there, sure, I'm doing something that's good for my body. I'm doing something that's going to make me feel good throughout the whole day, because after going to the gym in the morning, I usually feel great. However, while I'm there, I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just trying to get it over with so I can get on with the day. I've already started my day by being a slave to the clock, looking at my watch every couple seconds, just waiting for it to be over so I can move to the next thing and move to the next thing and move to the next thing.
And I think that can kill the enjoyment out of a lot of things. When it's like when you put yourself on such a tight schedule and you hold yourself to it, it can be something that you enjoy. Music, the gym, hanging out with friends. But if it's on the clock and it's like, okay, when this exact minute hits, that's when this is over and I have to leave and I can't extend it and I can't do anything. I have to go at this time. It really just like sucks the life out of it, because then you're just like, you're always in anticipation of the next thing on your schedule and never actually in the moment.
Literally living with your mind placed in the future instead of placed in the right now. And it does, dude. It sucks so much enjoyment out of life. It is. I don't know what it is, man. I feel like it's a mixture. If I'm looking for a root cause from where all these feelings come from, I feel like it's a mixture of like the culture we've developed in this country around working and the culture that we just tend to have as men, because we're very competitive, and I know that the overworking culture does extend to women too, of course, but as a man, I can only really speak from what I see when I'm interacting with other men, just because it's who I tend to interact with more. And it feels like it's very dominant amongst guys, because I feel like we kind of tend to treat it like a race. Like, we got to one-up each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just always wanting to be the next thing. Like, people like even brag where it's like, or people will complain too, like, oh, I worked like 40 hours this week and I'm exhausted. And like, they'll tell everybody that. But it's also like, if you feel like crap, why are you kind of like flaunting that? And like, I don't know, if you're telling everybody that you encounter, oh, I'm just working so much right now, I feel like shit, I'm exhausted, but like I just gotta keep hustling. It's like also at the same time, like, you're not, it doesn't sound like you're happy, but also it's like almost like you're bragging.
Yeah. It's like when I remember being a kid and like people would brag about how poor they were to sound like they were the toughest. It's like that. It's literally like that. I remember that, like, we'd be a little kid or whatever in like 3rd grade, and one of us would be like, oh yeah, I don't have like a full-size mattress, I just have a twin. And then the next kid's like, oh, well, I have a bunk bed, I have to share it with my sibling. And then the next kid's like, I sleep on a cot. And the next one's like, I sleep on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, trying to brag about who has it the worst.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like people do when it comes to overworking. Is it's almost like it gives you bragging rights to say, look at how hard I'm working. Look at how much I'm doing.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know, it's a way of judging people.
It gives you like an elevated status. It's like, what can you tell me? Like, are you working this hard where like you're exhausted, you feel like shit all the time? So it's like,
yeah, I bet you wish you felt like shit, don't you? Because you can't work as hard as me. Like, literally, it's like, it's a way to just judge other people, it feels like.
because I don't know, I feel like people who have like alternative lifestyles, or they just don't work as much and they make it work in other ways, they get like, it's like, oh, why aren't you working more? You know what I mean? And it took me a while to understand this, but my grandparents had the reaction when my dad switched his career path. And they were like, why aren't you working like as hard as you humanly possibly can? And they're like, why are you kind of like shifting paths and doing something a little bit less intensive? And he was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And they just couldn't wrap their mind around it. Like, they thought it was like the biggest disgrace thing ever. They were just like so shocked.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Just because he wanted to change what he was doing.
Yeah. They just saw it as like a less productive field, really. Even though it's basically just doing something that he enjoys more. And honestly, that was like a really good example. Like, now being older, I didn't really quite understand what the issue was when I was younger. I was probably like 10 or 11. And I didn't really quite get what was happening. But then now, kind of feeling a little bit of how he must have been feeling. I think he probably felt it to a huge degree. I know he was under a lot of stress. So it made perfect sense for him to do that. I think there was no ifs, ands, or buts. But now I'm kind of feeling in a similar way. I think that was an opportunity where I really look up to my dad for that moment. And I think that was like just a really special moment that like, it took a long time for me to actually manifest those feelings and actually come full circle. But now it's like, that was a really smart thing that he did.
Yeah, because imagine if he would have stayed in that career that he wasn't enjoying and just dragged it out for like the health insurance or the benefits or something.
Dude, exactly.
Like, dude, he would have been so much more miserable.
And I think for better or for worse too, like, especially when you bring in like your family, but like even now in our situation, well, we don't have kids or like a spouse, like your friends and your family or significant other, it's like you just lose that time if you're always like, I would much rather make less money but have more time with my loved ones any day of the week.
Yeah.
That's infinitely more valuable to me. And like, I started seeing him like way more after he changed career paths. And so it was like, like it would have, if he hadn't done that, it would have totally changed the dynamic.
Yeah.
He would not have been as big of a role in my life if he had done that. Because like growing up, my mom had a much more significant role, and I think my grandparents, because he was always working. And then he kind of changed that, and it kind of became more even with my mom. And so that was it was a weird transition too, like now like spending a lot more time with my dad. But also, I think it was also for the best. It's like, you're going to learn about, otherwise you're kind of like, everybody's kind of like doing their own thing. You kind of lose that community.
Dude, and you know that's real too, because I feel like specifically with like the male role model in your life, you need that. Everybody really needs that father figure, right? And so, and like ideally it's your father. And so if your dad is working all the time, or your mom too, because everybody needs that motherly figure in their life, ideally your mom. So if she's working all the time, or if your dad's working all the time, because they want to get money so that way you have a good childhood, but then you never see them.
Yeah, it's like the payoff isn't worth it in the end.
Exactly. The payoff isn't worth it, because now they're not even really that much of a part of your developing life anymore, because they're off working, doing what they think is the best for you. But really, the more valuable thing is that connection with your family, that time spent together.
And I think there's a lot of classic examples of that, like in just like American family life, where it's like the parents or the family will work so hard for the kids to buy them like the nicest things, like the best vacations, the best whatever, best clothes. But then ultimately, like, the relationship is just like shot because there was never any time, but it was just like throwing money at like physical things. But the time, spending that actual physical time, just like going for a walk, is more valuable than buying them like a new toy. You know what I mean? But it's hard. It's really easy to lose sight of that when it's just like, it's like the competitive drive again, where it's like, oh, this toy represents like status and like climbing up. Like the more stuff you accumulate, the higher you are up. So of course you want to buy, but at the end of the day, because you can't, like going for a walk and having a good mind, you can't really quantize that. You can't see that. What if you have all these things, like you can physically see, like, oh, this is going so well because we have all of this. But going for
it's keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. But doing simple things, just like spending time just chatting, is more valuable. And I think right now, like, there's not as many. I think like in our life right now, even like people be like, oh, hanging out. Are you hanging out with your friends all the time? It's a waste of time. Like you got to focus on what you're doing right now, like your school. And of course, you don't just hang out with your friends. Don't skip school. Just hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not really. I wouldn't say it's a waste of time to have community and have friendships. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna work so hard, but then who you're gonna enjoy anything with?
Yeah.
You never made any actual meaningful connections with anybody.
It's real, man. It's real. That's a huge conversation right there of like, because you know what it is? It's like parents. It seems like parents are trying to impose on their children what they see as adults, but children see a world totally different. To a child, it is more important that they're spending time with their parents, even if they don't really fully recognize why yet. When they're older, they're going to look back and they're going to see the time that they spent with their parents. Do you know what I mean? But from the parents' mindset in your 30s, you're worried about other things. You're worried about bills. You're worried about how you're going to put food on the table. And so for you, you're thinking, oh, well, my kid would appreciate it if I worked super hard to make sure they have a comfortable household, because you're seeing it with an adult mindset. But when the kid is grown, they're going to look back on the time spent. You know, that's going to be the more valuable thing.
And I think what a lot of parents like do is like they just give their kid like the iPad kids and stuff like that. But I think it also kind of tie it back to what we started talking about of like productivity. Like, I don't know. I don't think I was an iPad kid, but I did have like access to technology like fairly young, maybe like 6 or 7. And I didn't spend all my time on it, but I spent a significant amount of time on it. And I see like kids who are a few years younger than me, like really like they grew up with it like all the time. And I wouldn't say like spending time and watching like Minecraft videos was productive, but it was also the state of constantly doing something.
Yeah.
So if you're in the state of constantly watching something, doing something, interacting with this online, that translates to when you're older. Also, I think that's why I feel like part of the sense where it's like I always have to be in motion and always be doing something, because part of my childhood, like being online so much, was like always ingesting media or just like playing a video game or something like that, not just like sitting. So I think that, and then it's like when you have those feelings of like, at least for me, I had like when I have feelings of like I need to be in motion, it's like, well, I should be productive now. So I have to like these feelings I need to be in motion. It just goes straight towards like work and stuff like that, which is a bad thing at a certain point.
I feel like that's why going for a walk is great, because it puts you in motion.
Yeah.
But it allows your mind rest.
But it's not doing anything. Yeah, you can just turn your mind off a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I had another thing on my mind, but I'm forgetting what it was. Oh, that's right. You know what I realized with this money versus time spent sort of debate? I realized how much other cultures really value time spent when I started having Spanish lessons with tutors from Mexico.
Yeah.
That really opened me up, because it's like these guys work online. You know what I mean? They work online, and they're working a bit of like very flexible hours. You know, some of them have a second job, some of them don't. Some of them literally only work on the platform italki doing classes. And it's one of those things where, like, I met this one guy on italki who was literally a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
He was a lawyer, and he's 30 years old. He was a lawyer, and he decided to leave being a lawyer because he felt like he was kind of selling his soul to the devil, defending all of these criminals. He was like, dude, like, I know these people are murderers and I have to defend them. And so he was like, dude, and I never had time. So he was like, to me, man, having that time and not doing something that I think is morally wrong is more important than the money I made being a lawyer.
Infinitely.
That's what he was saying. He was like, that's why I don't mind just giving classes on italki, being a Spanish tutor, and just chatting with people. Because even though it pays me a lot less than being a lawyer, I don't have to go home. I can sleep at night.
Yeah. And I think it's important, like, realizing what you need and don't need. I think it's like keeping up with the Joneses thing, where it's like, if you see everybody else doing this and wanting these things, you feel like you're also obligated to want these things and you need to have these things, when in reality those things might not even make you happy.
Yeah.
For some people, like having like fancy things is definitely something people just like that. And my sister, I think she genuinely enjoys those things. She wants to have like a nice big house and all these different things, but that might not be for everybody. Where I feel like where it's like that where people feel that obligation to have like the best physical things, like the best house, the best car and stuff like that, but that might not make you happy and stuff like that. It's just evaluating where you're where the importance of your time versus money lies.
And dude, that really gets exacerbated online.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. Because what do you see? Materialism all the time. All you see is people flaunting materialistic things. Just things, objects. You know, having the most money, having the best cars, having the nicest houses, having the coolest vacation, you know, the best photos in the coolest places. That's all you see. And so when you're being bombarded by that all the time, of course your mindset is going to shift into valuing those things more than the things which are really important, which is spending your time with your family and your friends and actually enjoying the moment. And there's a case to be made that you can't really enjoy the moment very effectively if you're always stressing about your bills and you never have any money.
Exactly.
Which is true. But that's why you got to find that sort of balance. And some people really be like, oh, you know, fuck balance. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like
work yourself to the bone.
Work. Like, you're never going to be successful if you don't work to the bone. But the thing is, man, success is defined by you. If your idea of success is defined by what the world tells you success is, you're heading in the wrong direction.
You'll never be satisfied because it's always going to be the next level of success you can reach.
Exactly. And you're always going to be comparing yourself to someone who's better off than you because you're letting your desires be swayed by what the world is throwing at you, what the world wants you to do, not what you want to do.
And it's the difference between like being complacent and being content.
There is a difference between being complacent and being content.
Because I think you can also, like, there's people who are also complacent. Well, they feel like they're stuck in their life and they're unhappy. And it's like either like not being able to or not wanting to take the next step to push yourself, where I feel like that's a scenario where you should push yourself if you feel like you can do more. But then also, like, there's a point where you realize where you're doing your best and you're content with that. And I think that's something that is, like, not talked about a lot.
It's not.
Because I feel like whenever, even like you talk to people who are extremely successful, they're always like on the next thing. Like, how often do you see somebody and they're like, I'm very content with where I am right now? It's always like, I need the next.
That's how we always feel, man. That's how we always feel. You're right. But even then, when you use the word successful, it's like, what even is success?
That's true. That's a good point.
Because is the success the pursuit itself? Because if that's the case, then yeah, that person's successful. But if the success is enjoying where you're actually at in life right now without constantly needing something more to make you satisfied, none of those people are actually successful. And that's why I say success is defined by you. So I'm curious now, as we like wrap up the episode here, what are some things that you see as solutions? Some ways that we can kind of go against this culture that gets pushed on us, decide what we actually want out of life and how we want to run our lives, and how to really incorporate rest into that picture of what we want our lives to look like in a very healthy way.
I think especially if at least for myself, and I don't know if other people feel this way, but if you're doing so much overproductivity and you're writing out your schedule like hour by hour, where it's like the margin of error, like you can't even like stop to use the bathroom, where it's like that tight.
Yeah.
One of those productive things you're doing, just chop off a few minutes at the end. And the first productive thing you're doing, chop off a few minutes at the end of that, and just like leave yourself a little block in between stuff. And then just have like a 30 minutes to an hour, like find time to do it, which is so hard.
Yeah.
But it's honestly doing a disservice to yourself at a certain point. And I'm still working on it myself, but just because the time is there, like you can. There's always going to be some amount of little time to cut out. Like, you have to just force it into reality. Like,
and the thing is, too, is if you don't program it in, it's going to happen. There's going to be 5 minutes where you spend 5 minutes a little longer than you expected drinking your coffee and looking at your phone in the morning. And now you're running late the whole day because you scheduled your schedule like a madman. And I can see how doing your schedules like that, hour by hour, is probably super common in college because you have classes which are already scheduled hour by hour. Let's say you have 3 throughout the day and you have like a couple hour to 2 hour long breaks in between them. So I could totally see how a lot of college students have things scheduled hour by hour from 9 a.m. to like 5 p.m.
Yeah, and then I scheduled myself for work after this till 7. So my last class is at 3 and then I till work till 7. And I scheduled a rehearsal right after that, like 15 minutes later. So it's going to be like from 3 until like 9, like not a single second. But then it's like, I'm kind of like, why did I do this to myself? Like, I could have like left a smaller, like it's just a small like 30-minute gap between something just to rest for a second. And so I'm kind of realizing that like it actually is there. I was talking to somebody about it, and I was just like saying I've been so busy and productive. This is beautiful though.
What are they doing? They're like running on the
just messing
water.
around.
But man, and you know, the other thing is too, I feel like you have to become okay with not getting everything done today that you expected to.
Oh, that's the hardest thing. And then not feeling like forgiving yourself. And not even forgiving yourself for it. It's not really like something to forgive yourself for because it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I would let my world come crashing down if I didn't get to everything. And I would just feel like awful. And I would be like, I can't go to bed. I have to do this. But it's like, I'm exhausted. But I'm kind of like realizing at the end of the day too, like at a certain point, you just hit your critical mass. You're super tired and you might have still more things to do, but you just go to sleep. Literally. And I've been doing that more and more. And it's made such a difference. You wake up the next day actually refreshed, actually ready to do the thing you had to do at a better capacity, more efficiently, and to a better quality. And before I wouldn't have done that. I would have just like done the thing horribly. It would have taken me longer. It would have been worse. But I would have just forced myself through it. But I've been realizing that like at a certain point, like especially like when once it's like past like 10, if it's like you ate dinner already, you already showered, but you still have some more things to do. I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed. And it's actually helped so much.
I bet.
Like, waking up in the morning, I actually feel refreshed and ready to actually complete that task.
And that's when it comes down to figuring out what tasks to just circle back around next week, circle back around for the next day, circle back around for the next month. Just literally put them off for a while. Sometimes you have to because you need to go to bed. You got to get some sleep. You got to rest your head. You have to put something else in that place. And I think another big solution is dude, I'm going to just stand on this. A lot of people might disagree with this, but I don't care, man. It's crazy that this is even a hot take nowadays. Because if you go to other parts of the world, man, this is common sense. Everybody needs one day of the week where nothing is scheduled.
Yeah, that's really real.
Nothing is scheduled. Maybe like you have one doctor's appointment on this day. Maybe you are like scheduled, you know you have a plan to go see a friend or a family member on this day. But other than that, you have nothing scheduled. Everybody needs one day a week like that. You can go through periods where you don't have it, and sure, you might make a lot of progress, but I can guarantee you at the end of that period, dude, you're going to want to off yourself. Like,
oh, dude, absolutely.
It's horrible, man. If you talk to anybody who's really worked 7 days a week, dude, by the end of it, like, they're just not pleasant people to be around. You know what I mean? They might take pride in how hardworking they are, but it's just draining them. It's draining their time. They're not spending time with anybody in their life. And so I think it's extremely important that everybody has one day a week where nothing is scheduled. And if you just do that, at least that'll just help with your sanity so much. And it's going to improve the quality of the things that you do throughout those other 6 days.
That's the biggest thing. Like, you can be so productive and try to get so much done, but the quality of what you're doing, you're not going to enjoy yourself as much. It's not going to come out as well because you just feel exhausted. You're mentally and physically exhausted. You reach that point where you can't continue.
Yeah.
And I think for another episode in the future, maybe we can talk about even like the productivity of fun. So I've honestly felt that like the comparison, the productivity of fun, like where it's like I'm doing something that I love. I'm having the best time of my life. But then the feeling creeps in of comparison where it's like I'm not doing what is like quote unquote mainstream, the most fun thing to do. Like, this is not like Instagrammable. This is just like the most
really.
I'm having a great time, but this is not like highlight reel worthy. Or then it's like, oh shoot, is this really even worth doing? Like stuff like this, where like this would not make like a great like Instagram post. It's like, oh yeah, I had the most crazy day today, sat and looked at some geese and talked with a friend. You see people doing all these different crazy things, and it's like the productivity of fun and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. I've never thought about that, honestly.
I felt that kind of strongly lately.
But I guess like the comparison of fun things. Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, I've never really considered that before. But that is an interesting topic. That's for sure.
Well, I think this was a good episode.
I agree, man. I think we got a lot on the table. We talked about the problem. We talked about our experiences. We talked about some solutions. Yeah, this has been good. All right, so I guess that wraps it up for this video. We've been going for what, like almost 40 minutes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. And I'll catch you next time. Album on the way. I really hope that the film is still recording.
Dude. You're good?
Yeah. It is.